It says stream finished. I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? The stream's finished. The stream's not finished. What are you talking about?
Let me see if I have any messages. No, but I just got an alert from YouTube that says Network Collective is now live.
Yeah, because I started it again. Oops.
Oh, that's funny.
All right.
Is it the same link? Let me see.
It's not. I have to go back and edit. So if you're catching up with what we're doing, I see a couple of people in there. I'm sorry, I blew it up. So I've got to go. Update our page now. Give me 2 minutes.
I don't see anything. So I got to go update it as well. I must be on the wrong one.
Well, you are because when I killed the stream, it was a live event, right? So I'm updating. Let's see. Maybe I could not do that again.
All right.
Hey, we're there.
I was just on YouTube. It says that we're live, but it also wants me to sign in to chat. What's going on with that?
We're killing it today, Tony.
Am I signed? Oh. No, I know what.
So yeah. What I did, Tony, is I hit the record button, but I didn't hit the record button. I hit the red stream button instead of the record button, which kicked us off completely. So we're back. Sorry about that. Now I have to go into vMix Social. And if anyone's watching this, they get to see a little bit of what happens right before the stream starts as we're getting everything coordinated. So let's see. Off.
Yeah, what the heck?
Well, there we go. And Facebook off.
We need some music for when we have problems like this. We can just dump to music.
Some
oops, I did it again.
You like all the copyright infringement stuff. All right. I think we're all back together now. So what we were talking about is we were talking into the abyss, right? Is you're doing Tech Field Day next week. That's cool.
Tech Field Day next week. I'm looking forward to it. I was worried I was announcing companies that aren't going to be there, but no, turns out I was right. I was accurate.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be a good turnout. I hope so. And I know you were doing some stuff with Field Day this week.
Yeah.
One of the things that has kept you busy this week. So
one of the reasons why we're scrambling now. Yeah. It is from Field Day this week. And so it was good. It was an extension of Cisco Live, which is a little bit strange because typically like the Cisco Live Field Day happens when Cisco Live is happening. But here we are, we're like 2 weeks after the event. So that's a bit interesting. And I think that, one of the things about these Tech Field Day extra events, this is 2 days that's dedicated to one vendor. So Cisco can really pull this off, right? Because they have a whole bunch of different stuff. But one of the challenges in going to an event like this is they're talking across their whole portfolio of products, where I'm focused in a very like specific area. I do enterprise routing, switching, and cloud networking. We were talking security. We were talking service provider networking. We were talking data center networking, all of which are things that I have some familiarity with, but I'm not necessarily like, it's not my wheelhouse. Much like you into Tech Field Day. Next week, Tech Field Day is abroad, right? Tech Field Day is like across the board. Yep. There'll be some networking, there'll be some storage, there'll be some, like in all kinds of different categories. But for this, it's all focused on Cisco and Cisco solutions, which is almost like going to a Tech Field Day. Because in some of the sessions I'm sitting there, I'm like, I don't know half the things that are being said. And then in some of them are like, yeah, this is right up my alley. I know exactly what's going on. So a couple of highlights. We did hear from what I guess used to be called the service provider group. They're now called Mass Scale Infrastructure, which is an interesting, renaming of what they're doing. mass scale infrastructure. I wish what I worked on was called mass scale infrastructure. It makes it sound, all heavy and important and whatever. But mass scale infrastructure is service provider technology, and they're doing some interesting things there. So they are they're making an effort to unify what is a traditional optical network with your IP network. So in service providers, traditionally, you have like this large L2 switched network that's just fiber and connectivity. And then you have the routers, which provide things like L3 VPN or internet connectivity or whatever that sit over the top of that and ride those. And they're two distinct networks. Some of the names are a popular name you might hear in this, like Ciena. Ciena does optical networking. And there's others in that space. There's a lot. It's just not, to me, to list off a bunch of names would probably not be all that accurate because I just don't deal with it very often. I have a couple of customers that have their own optical networks, but it's really like way out on the edges of what I normally touch. So what Cisco's saying is that you don't need both of those disparate networks now. What they're going to do is they're going to take the transponders that go into those optical networks and put them into essentially SFP or similar form factors, QSFP form factors, so that you can actually get interfaces on your switch that will act as optical and IP, merge them together, converge them. And so it was an interesting conversation. It seems to me, very, very broad brushstrokes as someone who's not deep into this, convergence makes sense some of the times. But I don't know how it plays with disaggregation. In fact, I was able to ask them this question, and I don't know that I fully got an answer. But with service providers looking to disaggregate, right? Like we're going to split hardware and software because we manage these things on different life cycles, right? So we can treat our hardware like cattle and replace it at will. We can treat our software like pets, hold on to it, build workflows around it, build our company around it. I don't have to replace my software and workflows every time that there's a speeds and feeds upgrade. That makes a lot of sense in disaggregation. So here we're taking two components of what is in service provider networks, L3 router type devices, which have their own life cycle, and L2 style fiber connectivity, L2, L1 connectivity style devices, which also have their own life cycle, and combining them together. And so I asked the question, and Nick Baraglio and Kevin Myers were both there, and both those guys work in service provider all the time. So like they have a bit more perspective, but I was asking them, like, are these life cycles the same? And they're like, no, like optical gear stays around forever. Routers get replaced more often. And so like, I don't know. I'm not sure of the economics of it. I don't know if there's going to be interest in it. I mean, it's interesting for just the technology convergence component, being able to kind of, simplify what is an underlay and overlay, right? Like, I mean, it's not tunnel overlay, but it is simplify some things. So I can see the value in it, but it was a really interesting conversation because I'm just trying to piece it together as someone who's not in that space about what it really is. And if we have anybody in the service provider space who wants to chime in, let me know, because I'd be interested to hear. But that was one of the interesting conversations. Oh, it looks like Kevin's in there, so maybe he'll chime in. So that was one of the interesting.
I was gonna say that does sound pretty interesting. I don't know. I don't. That's not my bread and butter. So I don't know. But I run the question of, it sounds like a good idea. Okay, like I'm the outsider. I say, that sounds like a good idea. But I don't manage, like the DWDM. I don't manage the infrastructure of the service provider.
Right.
So there's a break in administration, in administrative domain.
Right. You're typically a consumer, right?
If you're a business or something, you're a consumer. So I think it makes sense maybe for businesses that run and manage their own fiber, but I don't know, maybe there's a lot out there that do. But I know, like, as a small business, I work for a small business, we are just now getting to the point where we're got fiber between two sites. Now we have a service provider. We're still a customer. They still have their own gear, right? Which I think is pretty cool too. Like, I don't know much about that. We got to have some offline conversations. I got to learn more about it.
Absolutely. It is really interesting. I've worked for some large hospital systems that have their own, they're regional and they have their own fiber networks. running some of this gear. And so like that's my exposure to it, right? Is like, oh, like you're in this very confined space. You can get dark fiber. It's not like service provider who has dark fiber, across the country. They're getting it within one metro region, but running optical networks on their own to provide their own connectivity. And have that flexibility. And there's some really neat things you can do with it. I learned quite a bit just kind of being on the side of it and having to run the IP network over the optical network and understand how those two things interacted. But I wasn't on the gear on the keyboard making it happen. So like my knowledge is a bit tangential. So that was interesting. Yeah. We saw presentations from SD-WAN and SASE, which is no surprise. They're doing all the things that you would expect. Making good progress on some of the SASE products. And so like that was a good thing, but not a whole lot to report on. You know what I'm saying? Like it's good. It's not there. One of the other, it is there, but it's continuing to grow and evolve. One of the things we kept hearing about was things like App Dynamics, Thousand Eyes. We're hearing a lot about analytics. Like that seemed to be like an underpinning, like even in presentations that weren't about it, they were bringing them in to talk about it. So visibility analytics played a big role, and that was interesting. Thousand Eyes is such a great product. Like the more that I see it, the more there's like, okay, this makes a lot of sense. They have a lot of, it's not super complicated stuff, but they do provide a lot of value. And it's that whole distributed viewpoint, being able to see from every point on your network. And so like, I was really impressed. Like every time I see them, I'm really impressed. And so that was neat to see and see some of their integrations, like integrating with App Dynamics. So there was, that was interesting. And then SecureX, there was a presentation on SecureX, which I'm sure you would have been very interested in. It really just kind of a central arbiter of security information, cloud-based. Cisco hosts it. So that was interesting because, I mean, anytime we talk about this all the time in security, right? There's so many disparate tools. There's so many different things. You did a presentation on like what you do in your home network on how to integrate these things. And there's been multiple efforts to try to consolidate information to give a holistic view, or at least to give a coordinated view of all the things that are going on, because there's so many different things you have to look at. And this seemed like a really viable approach as someone who doesn't live in security. It definitely, what was communicated sounded great. I would love to hear from somebody who's a practitioner who uses it, if it lives to that expectation.
Operator hands-on, yeah.
Exactly. And so the messaging was fantastic. But anytime you hear that, it could be straight architecture or it could be really, really valuable. I would say, though, if I was considering, now, I know that Cisco hasn't always had the most favorable impression in the security world. It depends on what and where. I will say Cisco has come a long way since when I started in networking, where like the extent of their security was ASA. But I do know that, they've kind of caught some bad will with some of the stuff with firewalls, some other products that are just kind of difficult to work with at times. So I'm kind of curious, has security kind of turned their back on them completely and just kind of moved on with like Palo or somebody else? or is Cisco still vying for interest from security practitioners who are putting stuff into their networks? And I'm not sure there's a cohesive answer in that, but they are trying, right? And one of the things that Cisco readily attempts, we see it in everything that they do, is they try to build that ecosystem, right? If they're going to offer products across the entire portfolio, they want to be the one who can bring it all together and give you the big picture the best. Sometimes it succeeds, sometimes they don't. This is another attempt in that area. And I can see, if you were an all Cisco shop, there might be something. And to be fair, they're very clear that SecureX is not meant to be just Cisco for ingesting information, but they're in control of the apps that come in. So I have some concerns around the politics about how those things get approved, how those things get in for those connectors, who makes those determinations. You can write your own, but we've seen that story before. Like, oh yeah, we have an API. Mm-hmm. Someone else can write, an interface to it. Yep. Doesn't mean that it's easy to, or that there's going to be financial motivation to. So is it really interoperable, or is it just interoperable in theory?
And that's one of the things I love to joke about from almost any vendor that takes this approach. Whenever you're talking about interoperability between product A or vendor A and other vendors' products. And they'll always say, oh, well, we have a GitHub where we publish, all of the connectors or whatever you want to call them, all of the connectors for these handful of products. And if there's anything that, that you need, you can code it and submit it right there. And I'm like, I'm not doing your work for you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, why are you asking us to do your work for you?
But in fairness,
if I'm going to pay you and pay for a license for all this, like I want it to be done. I want it to be done. I want it to be tested. I want it to be everything.
Right.
If I'm going to write the code myself, then.
In fairness, is it right? I mean, this is a great question. Like, is it fair to expect Cisco to write connectors for all of their competitors? like this is the challenge. Like, what's the motivator? So I think that this is where it comes down to. Sometimes for that central arbiter, it's not best to go to the company that has all the products because they want you to use all of their products. And they're definitely going to have a bias that direction. They're interested in you using their products. They're not necessarily interested in using competitors. When they say they interop with third party, this is the Jordan Martin take on what that means. That means we know that not everyone's going to run all Cisco. But if you run 80% Cisco and you need the other 20% ingested, we'll help you. But if you run 20% Cisco and the other 80% is not us, good luck. The vendor can write it for you if you'd like. And I just think that I'm not sure. Again, I need some practical, yeah, absolutely, this is true. I'm willing to back off of this if they really are open. They seem to be. That's the words they were saying. But I've seen this story before told with the same level of conviction. So proof is in the pudding. We'll see. I don't know. But at the end of the day, it's a really good story. What they're doing is really interesting. It is worth looking at, right? Like at the end of the day, it's kind of my takeaway from it. It's worth looking at. And so that was an interesting conversation. And then I'll pull one last one and then we'll kind of get off a field day. For the third time, I saw Cisco's smart building infrastructure presentation where basically the pitch is this: don't run power. Use UTP, use PoE, drive your lights, drive your doors, drive your sensors, drive everything off of PoE, because now we're getting up to 90 watts, right? We can power a lot of things with that. You can power your laptop. You can power displays on the wall. You can power all kinds of different things with PoE. And I think from a very, Jetsons futuristic world, like that sounds awesome. No, Preston. Now that we're not sponsored by a network visibility solution, are we steamrolling network monitor solutions? Not at all. You missed the point where I said Thousand Eyes was an awesome tool. So there's that. But anyway, but fair enough. Keep me in check if you think if I'm being biased that way. I'm all about that. But the Cisco smart building product, I've had the same qualm about it every single time, and I still have not gotten my qualm addressed in a satisfactory way from the BU. And this is my problem. Switches cost money, like legitimate money, and they're replaced regularly. So when we talk about replacing something, an infrastructure in a building, we have to look at what is the longevity of that infrastructure? So if I go install power cabling or power wiring, like I traditionally do in a building, yeah, sure, that's expensive. Like I've got to run the cable. I've got to have a licensed person do it because it's not low voltage. I've got to have somebody go in and actually, I got to pay someone who's knows what they're doing because we can cause fires and all kinds of problems like that. I get that. That's expensive. But then when it's done, it lasts for decades. Like you don't have to touch it and it just works. I mean, we have houses that were built at the dawn of electricity that are still functioning. You may not want to work on them, right? but the concepts still work. And you don't have to go and rip and replace. Switches aren't that way. Switches are, if you're really lucky, you get a 10-year life cycle off of a switch. I mean, that's a really long time, but if you're really lucky, you get a 10-year life cycle. Reality is probably half of that, maybe a little bit more, right? So you're going to talk about a 5 to 7 year horizon that you're replacing your switches. every single port that you're running power from. So what Cisco is pitching is like Cat 9K switches, like legitimate full 9K switches like you're used to for access. Now think about that. They're going to be powering IoT, sensors, lights. Cat 9K can do like MPLS and can do all kinds of features that you're paying for in a licensing scheme that you don't need. It's about $150 a port for a PoE switch with a limited license that you then have to replace every 5 to 7 years for every port that you run with power. The numbers just don't make sense to me. They never have made sense to me. And so I can see it. I can see it maybe if the cost per port was lower. And that's my feedback every time, just to be fully transparent. Like we get an opportunity to talk with them like after the presentations. This isn't new. I wouldn't be saying this if I hadn't shared this feedback with them directly. I just, like I don't understand the economics of it, because if I have all this stuff, how many switch ports is that? We're talking about hundreds or thousands of switch ports at $150 a port replaced every 5 to 7 years. It's not going to take long for that cost you paid for that installer to be overrun by the cost of your switches. And is the value you get out of that system that much more valuable than what you get out of your power? Because there are other ways to connect those devices. We see them in homes and we see them other places. We've got Zigbee, we've got Z-Wave, we've got all kinds of fun, fancy little things that we can do to build wireless mesh networks to get these sensors, to get these devices on, and we can run power to them either via battery, if they're small devices or sensors that last for years, or we can just run power to them if there's something like a camera. And so I think that, I don't know, but I'm just not feeling, I'm not feeling the smart building infrastructure pitch from Cisco. I tried again. I really did try. Like I really do want to see it. This one was a bit more compelling post-COVID, only because of you think about like, room monitoring for people and a bunch of other things. But again, these things can be accomplished with ways that don't require very expensive switch ports to make happen. And that, and the cynic in me looks at this and says, this is cost effective for somebody. It's cost effective for Cisco. Like Cisco's going to make a lot of money selling switches if you buy into the strategy. I'd be all about it if there was value. I'm having a hard time finding the value of what that Catalyst switch is doing other than just providing power, which I can do lots of different ways. So that was my general takeaway from the past couple of days. A lot of positive, some right? Which I think is true for any set of presentations. But yeah, that's been that's kind of my, I guess, 10-minute summary on the past 2 days. But I'm exhausted. Like I love Field Day. I've been involved since, I want to think 2005. So I think this is 6 years I've been involved with Field Day now. And, I've done a bunch of events where I've gone to the event. These virtual ones are just, they suck all of the energy out of you. There's just something about sitting on a conference call and listening to a presentation for 6 hours straight that just saps it all, all of the energy out of you. And so that was today, just scrambling. Like we just got done at around 6 o'clock. And so like I saw my family for all of 45 minutes as I put together trivia for tonight, and it was just like, I'm happy to be here, but this is going to be the end of the exhausting part of my week. And tomorrow is going to be like the take a deep breath of air and relax day. Yeah. So, yep.
Thursday has always been my day after we live stream. It's like, I know that Thursday I'm not booking. We're not doing recordings. We're not doing interviews. We're not doing anything. We're not producing anything.
Right.
Thursday is just a day. I don't even have to get on the computer if I don't want to.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it next week, and hopefully I will fill you guys in on what I experienced Tech Field Day as, and hopefully we get some good presentations and some good feedback.
Good deal.
But with that said, man, I think maybe we should do some trivia or something.
Some trivia. I'll tell you what, our viewers are light. That's probably because of me. So if you are watching, you have a great opportunity to kind of, to take the lead. So yeah, we'll do trivia. We'll pull it up.
Let me see.
What do you got, Tony?
It's just, Sorry. I was just checking on making sure I put out like the correct links and stuff for the show because we botched the show opening.
Yeah, that was not we. I botched the show opening.
It's a team. It's a team effort. You know what I'm saying? I was just going to send out a tweet, but yeah, I'd love to dive into a little bit about what I was doing, and I'll do that in just a second. And I had a lot of fun with it this week, and I just put out, I think in the last week, I put out 3 blog posts, which is like the most I've ever written.
Really?
In one period, but it was just like content I had to get out there. Just putting that out there.
All right. Well, for those of you who are watching, if you want to do trivia, go ahead and join.
Yeah.
NF Dump Sage.
That's a good one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if it's only these two, they're guaranteed on the
L2
final.
internet. Oh my God. L2 internet. Give me a break. Everything's L2 with that guy.
Knight Rider.
Yeah, I just was going to talk a little bit about some of the work that I've been doing lately, and it kind of like all stemmed from doing that Cisco CTF or starting that Cisco CTF.
Right.
Which I think I talked about last stream. That event had a PCAP, and it was PCAP analysis challenge was the first major round, and that PCAP was comprised of 2 different layer 2 link layer types. And while Wireshark can open that and work with it properly and display it and parse it and no problems with the file, when you start running that file through other tools, like I was running it through Zeek and Suricata and IDS, and a tool I use called Brim, and even TCP dump fails to load this PCAP. And I did some deep dive research and found it's because it has 2 different layer 2 link type headers.
Okay.
Within the same PCAP file. And so I used a tool called Trace Wrangler just to overwrite them and create all Ethernet headers, which was just a super quick way, a really awesome tool, which maybe I'll demo next week. A super quick tool just to iterate through a PCAP and just write all Ethernet headers, regardless of what header you have, just overwrite as Ethernet so that other tools can parse it properly. That worked and allowed me to solve the CTF challenges. But then I had this itch in the back of my neck, which was like, wait a second, there's a deeper understanding here, which is if I split the contents of the PCAP into 2 PCAPs, dumping all my Ethernet packets with Ethernet header over here and all of my packets with what's called the Linux cooked capture layer 2 header over here, then I should be able to process each PCAP individually. That didn't work.
No.
Even though the PCAP had only Ethernet packets and frames in it, it still wouldn't process through all these other tools, including TCP dump, which is like the ubiquitous packet
That's everywhere.
manipulation tool, right?
Yeah. So
what happens is even though we separate out the packets into 2 separate files, the metadata, it's called the IDB, the interface description block of the file structure, still contains 2 link types in it, 2 separate link types in it, even though all the packets only point to one of those link types. So I ended up doing researching the whole PCAP-NG file structure. There's an RFC on it. And I have it open here on my screen. And I ended up opening the PCAP in a hex editor and just basically going through it byte by byte, field by field, figuring out what was going on here. And so what I found was, and I did a whole blog write-up about it, so everyone can go check it out. What I found out was if we just overwrite the one that's called Linux cooked capture with byte 01, which indicates link type Ethernet, boom, all the tools work. All the tools work, and that's all it took. And it's not just a matter of writing over it with Ethernet. It's a matter that if you have 2 IDB blocks, they have to be of the same link type. So I did like a whole deep dive on it, and it's just been absolutely fantastic. But never in my life did I think I'd be combing over a file in a hex editor, byte by byte, breaking it down. And so I really only had to manipulate 1 byte to make this work. And
I don't think I've used a hex
now it's
editor
done.
in like 20 years. So back in my days when I had aspirations of, black hat glory and everything, hex editor was part of the things that you pulled out to learn. And this is, now I'm really dating myself, but yeah, for sure. It's for reverse engineering things, but no, I haven't been down that road in a long time. It's kind of taking me back a bit, some nostalgia. Oh, you're playing too, huh? You created most of these questions, man. That's not fair.
I'm just there for funsies. I'm just there for funsies.
You're going to take over and win again, aren't you?
No. I can't do that. I would not do that. But
Okay.
But yeah, I just dropped the link in the chat. It's got the most recent blog posts on there. They've just been a
Nice.
lot of fun. And so if anyone's into that sort of stuff, I got sort of 3 blog posts that came out, within a week of each other. I wrote some Zeek scripts, which is pretty cool. Working with the Linux cooked capture headers using Trace Wrangler. I'll demo that tool next week. And then editing a PCAP with a hex editor.
Very cool.
But you know what? It's one of those things. Just I say this all the time, Jordan. Like the reason I'm so into this sort of stuff, it all sort of stems from my entire study of networking.
Right.
You open up any CCIE book, right, and you're presented with like the different packet headers or protocol headers and the fields contained within. And occasionally you open them up in Wireshark and you poke around a little bit, but like never was I given raw hex data and snippets of charts and tried to like piece them together, you know what I mean, to figure out what fields belong to or what bytes belong to which field in order to understand it. So it's sort of a fun exercise and something I probably couldn't have had the confidence of jumping into had it not been for all the networking experience that I've been through.
Very cool. We lost somebody on trivia. Somebody bailed on us. They're like, yeah, not so much.
Who was that?
I don't know. I didn't see which name came in and went. We were up to 7 and now it's 6, but that's all right. We ready to get this started? We need some music. Oh, well, hold on. Before the music. So there were some interesting questions in here. First, full disclosure. Typically, I pull all the questions together. This week, I knew was crazy because of field day. I asked Tony to pull the questions together. Now, Tony did something interesting I wasn't expecting. Tony went back and found a bunch of questions about Network Collective, and it's interesting because this actually were really, really, really close, and I won't reveal how close because that may be one of the questions to 4 years. So Network Collective started without revealing anything in April of 2017. So we're at like our 4-year anniversary. We're solidly like past the early toddler stage and are somewhere in that little kid stage, I guess. But there's some questions in here about Network Collective and our history, which I think is kind of fun. Which for Tony wasn't around for all of it. So some of those things were new to him. In fact, I had to fact check him on a couple things. But he did his due diligence. He just didn't know some of the nuance behind it. So I had to fact check a little bit, but no, it's pretty good. So for those who've been around for a while, you might have an advantage. All right. With that said, let's get some music going. There we go.
Nice.
Here we go. Woo! Woo! But not this one.
Yeah. I just, in creating some questions, I wanted to pull some Network Collective trivia, some true
great.
Network Collective based trivia in, and can't be right all the time. There's a lot of people trying to spell it out on their keyboard right now.
That's what's happening, yeah. All right.
Wait, I want to know, someone must have just like pulled the trigger quickly on Hawaii because that doesn't work. Oh, but you know what? Maybe they're using like an international keyboard.
or Dvorak or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It does say standard. I made sure it said standard.
Okay.
Not. Good job, Night Rider. And L2 Internet right behind him. I don't know what the difference is between 1 point in time, but it's got to be really close. Again, not Network Collective, but here it is.
Oh, I love that screensaver. That's such a good GIF. It's in the corner every time. Such a good GIF.
I tried to find the one that would never hit. Just to be annoying, but not so much.
That's like one of the most relatable episodes of The Office. It's when they're all sitting there watching the logo, waiting for it to hit the corner pixel.
Wow. 4 people voted for 1990.
Wow.
I feel like, did we get it right?
Wait a second. All right, so this is really weird because I answered 1995 because I knew what the answer was because I saw the trivia questions.
Right.
So I purposely took a dive on this one, and I see I'm marked as correct, and that's me right there. Oh, I'm hovering over with my mouse on the screen that you can't see, obviously.
Yeah, look at you. You're winning now.
So I took a dive on that one. So we must have botched that question.
Hold on. When was the DVD invented? 1997. We were way off, but 95 was closer. Okay.
Wow.
There we go. There we go. When was the first one?
Ooh.
I found the artwork from it too. Went back to the archives.
Yeah. That was a good episode. I remember listening to it.
I remember listening to it as well.
So this was back when I was a listener, and you guys didn't have it on the Google Music app at the time. Yeah. And so I used to have to play it on YouTube and just plug in my aux cable on my car and just drive around listening to the audio of it.
All right. Look at you still sitting up there up top.
I didn't answer.
This is a tough one. Like, I know it. But the person you picked who was not on it is a good pick.
Well, thanks.
Yeah. To trick people. I can definitely see people thinking that person was on the first episode.
I was coming up with a lot of secondary questions to do these, and I just ended up, putting down the questions that I did. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you guys don't know, Michael Ziga, Carl Fugate, and Jody Lemoyne were all guests, along with Jordan Martin, Yvonne Sharp, and
Phil Gervasi
and Phil as hosts.
Yeah, so Yvonne and Phil.
So that was a 6-person show.
It was. We have since toned it down. We've had more than that. I think we had one with 7. It was a little crazy. All right.
I love this question.
You would.
I know. EIGRP foo. But I'm scared to answer because I don't want to take away the number 1 spot.
Or the number 2 spot, or the number 3 spot. So in case we don't have somebody who can't make it back.
I got to take a dive. There you go.
All right.
Wow, 87. That's interesting. El Jefe. Who's El Jefe? That must be Laz. I see Laz just popped up.
Did he?
Did you have to fact check this one too, or was I right about this?
I just took your word for it. It's really hard. We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah. So this was based on a post that you made
Not too long ago.
I don't know, about 6 months ago, maybe 4 months ago.
Then it's probably accurate because if I made it, yeah. Wow, 2 people got it right. If I didn't know the statistics, like if I hadn't have done that post, I would have guessed History of Spanning Tree. That would have been my guess.
Yeah, I would have said History of Spanning Tree. It's one of my most memorable episodes, or episodes I remember. It comes to mind epic. First.
For sure. All right. Good job, Knight Rider. So this was the fact check.
Yeah. I love that you put the GIFs in there, not just memes.
Not just memes.
It adds like a nice color to it. Yeah, a nice feeling to the question. In fact, I might just go watch Seinfeld tonight.
Whoa. Nice. The one wrong guess was the one that was 10 away. This is hard. We'll talk about this after we're done because it's interesting.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
I originally wrote that question and filled in what I thought was the correct answer and 3 false answers for Jordan, and he told me pre-show that he had to fact check that one because it didn't sound right, and I was way off. Definitely. Nice meme. My brother-in-law recently had his hair like all a mess. I don't know. He like came out of bed and it was all wild. And I was like, you know, the aliens guy from History Channel? Like, that's what you look like right now. I'm not saying it was aliens, but it was aliens.
Uh-oh. You confident on that answer?
Wow.
Three for A3K, yeah.
Yeah, I also came up with this question, and I'm confident on it.
Okay.
But it's always open for, discussion. I mean, if I'm way off and you have evidence that I'm off, I'll heed. Yeah.
This one was an easy one for me.
Somebody 3D printed a save button. Oh, it's so good. My son was making fun of old-timey telephones, the ones we used back in the day, and he was holding a phone like this with pretending it had a flip-up screen and it had a real keyboard on it. I'm like, son, you don't know an old phone.
Old-timey. You mean the phones I used in my first job? Yeah. All right. It was easy for a lot of people, I think. Knight Rider killing it. I don't know who Knight Rider is, but good job. Yeah.
Got to be a couple of easy ones in there. Now that's a name I have not heard in a long time.
You got to admit, that's a good one. That's a good one. There's multiple layers there, all happening. Nice. So now, you were the one who came up.
People really know. Yeah, either people really know their Lewis Carroll writings, or they really know Star Wars, Star Trek, and Sesame Street.
Sesame Street. Awesome.
Knight Rider's on fire. Who's Knight Rider? I don't know if do we know who that is? There we go. That's a good one. Easy one for the people. I love that. That's a good one. I love that. I also love those T-shirts.
10 people understand binary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. For those who answered, because not everyone answered, but for those who did, they all got it right.
That's the easy one. It's a given.
You say that.
I mean, for networking people, it's an easy one. I mean, if it's an architect, you might not get it.
So I think our number 1 and number 2 are set. Not as number 1 and number 2, but NF Dump say I don't know that there's enough room in one question to make up that difference, but we'll see. Here we go.
Yeah, I had that baby. Had that big wide connector on the back. I don't know how many pins was on that thing. It wasn't that many, but I think they call it a parallel cable.
Yep.
Actually, I got that one because some guy got the Jazz drive, and so he was upgrading. He was like, "Hey, I got this old zip drive. Do you want it?" I used to store all my wares on it.
Nobody.
Really?
No, I need a.
There you go. That's right, 100 megabytes.
All right. So
The LS120. I don't know the LS120.
The LS120. That's wrong. Preston says it's wrong, and I'm assuming he's got data to back it up.
Based on some of the hardware that Preston has provided us for Naked Hardware, it would not surprise me if he doesn't have a stack of old zip drives as well, hiding somewhere in the house.
Nice.
Late 94. Okay.
So here's what's
Wikipedia.
So here's what's up. Knight Rider and L2 Internet. I think L2 Internet is Preston, but if not, you guys got to let me know who you are. If you're in the Slack, hit me up in the Slack. If not, send me an email, jordan@networkcollective.com, and I will get you connection info because we want you to come on the show and participate in the final. Just 5 questions, but we want to have you connect and come on and definitely join us for head to head to see who comes out on top. Did you find your answer, Tony?
I'm just going to throw this link in there. Yeah, my Wikipedia article, if it's not the best resource, I apologize, outlines, where are we? 1995, March, released Zip 100 megabyte drive. I don't... Okay. Hang on. It says the zip drive, what is a removable floppy disk storage system that was introduced by iOmega in late 1994, considered medium to high capacity for the time of its release. Zip disks were originally launched with capacities of 100, 250, 750 megabytes. The format became most popular as a super floppy. Nice niche. Yeah.
Watching Tony do research is super compelling.
That's I know. I'm sorry. It says introduced in 1994, but the other Wikipedia page said released in 1995. So, based on how the question was worded, they're probably both right.
Gotcha. Okay. So talking about statistics, I said I would talk about that for quick. I won't spend too much time on this. It is first off, podcast statistics are one of the most non-scientific things in any statistics medium I've ever worked in before. So because of the nature of podcasts and because the people download them and we don't see the content afterwards, typically what you see from a podcast stat is straight up downloads. Like that's it. That's all you get is downloads. Now it gets much harder because there's a lot of different platforms and not all of them play well together. And so like, we release ours on our own RSS feed, but we use statistics through one company who's tied in with it, and they'll tell us how many downloads. But Spotify caches a copy and delivers it through their CDN network. And so when they do that, they manage their own statistics. And for some time, we were doing audio and video. And so I was counting video views and downloads as a statistic for that, but I was having to go to multiple places. And then we switched video providers. We went from YouTube to Vimeo for the podcast. And so there were some episodes that lived on both, the very early ones. And so when I was counting those, there were sometimes I had to go to 4 places to find the actual value of how many people had consumed that piece of content. I had my podcast statistics service. I had YouTube, I had Vimeo, and then Spotify once we were on Spotify. And so it is really hard. I just got to the point where I just straight up, I care, but I don't care. So in so much as like, I care because, well, honestly, when we talk to advertisers, they want to know. They want to know how many people are downloading and consuming the show, how many people are participating in it. Like that's what they care about. Beyond that, especially post-COVID, like number of people who download, like, If you were measuring your success based off of that number alone, you would have had a very rough year because podcasts took a big hit because of COVID. And so I just, I don't know that I've taken an honest effort on statistics in quite some time. Now, when I did the top 5 posts, I did go back and I wanted to find the real numbers for like the top 10 to make sure I was accurate. And so that's the reason why that question is kind of a little difficult to answer. It's like, what's the most popular? Well, it takes a bit of kind of jumping around to different places to find the statistics to really know. And does a video view really count as a podcast download? I don't know. Does a download really count as consumption? Because you can download it and never listen to it, right? Like it's a big fog about what the numbers actually are. So it's hard to tell.
Yeah, and one of the questions that Jordan had to 100% correct me on was since or up till yesterday's date, April 13th, 2021, how many episodes has Network Collective or its partners released? And I had put the answer on there 140. I put the tilde 140, so about 140. And then I put that was at the correct answer, and then the answers that were incorrect, the other ones, I put far enough out there that it wouldn't it wouldn't be 150 or 160. Right. It'd be far enough leap away that you'd be making a big difference. And how I came to that number, because I don't have access to all of the same tools that Jordan has, and especially since he's built this over time, he knows all the places to look for different things like that. I was going strictly off our RSS feed, which only goes back 100 episodes. And the oldest episode in the RSS feed is episode 41. So I was taking a leap of faith and assumption that there were 40 episodes in front of that. So I was taking 100 plus 40, give me 140, give or take some additionals that I can't account for.
And logically, that's a sound assumption.
Jordan tells me, no, you're way off. So Jordan, tell us how you arrived at the correct answer, please, to show us how off I am.
So first off, Apple does not do well with very, very long RSS feeds. Either do other RSS players or RSS distributors. And so you were encouraged to prune that feed down. In fact, 100 is probably too much. But we're running it at 100 right now. And so if you go to Spotify, if you go to Apple, if you go to any of the places that pull from the RSS feed, it's only the last 100 episodes. If you want to listen to anything that's before 41, I guess at this point, you've got to go to the website. You can't pull it from an RSS feed. And so like, that is what it is. It's not a big deal, but that's what, because we're talking about there, like that's the beginning of year 2. Like it's not that far back. Now, what Tony assumed is that our content creation rate was consistent, which it wasn't. Right. And so, what we did is we had, what he didn't account for was things like short takes. So just going back to episode 40, or episode 41 doesn't account for all the stuff that wasn't considered or an episode number. And we did short takes just as much as we did regular episodes. And we also had we had something that was called Off the Cuff, which is like if we wanted to do an episode that was kind of out of the production schedule, we would do that. We had a number of those. And there's been a number of other types of content that's been created that was different. So the way that I come to the conclusion about how many pieces of content we have is actually inside of WordPress, because everything is managed inside of WordPress. So in WordPress, I go and I look at the number of posts because we don't post blogs. We have a blog site, which is down, Tony, and I got your message and I've got to fix that right now. Not right now, but at some point in the near future. I've got to fix that. But we don't post blogs on the Network Collective site. It is all just pieces of content. And there's I think it's approaching 300 pieces of content, but there's a little trick. So when we had membership, and even for subscribers, like one of the things we offer is an ad-free feed. So if you are a supporter of the show, there is a authenticated RSS feed that has content that does not have ads on it. And what that means is when I post an episode, if it's a non-sponsored episode, the same episode goes in both feeds. So the feeds are identical. But if they're sponsored, I create two different files, right? I create the one with the ads in it and the one without the ads in it. The one with the ads in it goes in the public RSS feed that everyone downloads. The one without the ads is its own post in WordPress. It has to be, that goes to a different feed and it doesn't have ads. And you only can get to that through having some credentials. So you have duplicates. So what I do is I take the total number of posts that we've done minus the total number of those ad-free shows, because those are the only ones that have duplicates. And so that came out to 200, and I think the total number of posts is something like 280 or something like that. And then the sponsored shows were like 40 or 50 or something like that we had sponsorships on them. So roughly that 230 number is where we came out to. So that includes all the short takes and all the other stuff and all the other randomness. So that was interesting, because I was like, that doesn't sound right. I know we were well over 200. So anyway, I don't know if that was interesting to anyone but me, but there's some of the, pulling the covers back a bit on the back end infrastructure, how all this stuff works. Everyone's talking about Jazz drives and zip drives. So apparently not. So,
But when you asked me to put together some questions, I don't know how I ended up on it, but I was just like, I'll do some Network Collective trivia, some trivia on ourselves. And I tried to come up with enough trivia to do an entire trivia round on Network Collective, because 2 days ago was the 4-year anniversary. So congratulations, Jordan.
Thank you. It's not really the 4-year anniversary, right? Because obviously there was a start. It was the 4-year anniversary of releasing our first episode. There was a good month and a half of lead up. So, for our documents and all the things that show, like I got my 4-year Twitterversary, whatever, like several weeks ago, because we established the Twitter account and all the other stuff that is surrounding it. But no, 4 years, yeah. So just keep plugging along. It's been fun. So. But that's enough about, I don't know, inside politics or whatever. I don't know that people care about the way things are run or anything like that. We've got a special guest today.
That's right.
You want to tell everyone about the special guest?
Yeah. I'll give a little intro as best I can. This special guest is a friend of mine, Sean. You can find him in the YouTube chat as TCP Dump 101, and you can find him on Twitter. You can read his handle and his name tag, I think, but it's at Grave Rose.
There you go. Hey,
and
Sean,
and I met. Hey, welcome. And I met Sean via Twitter during my my CCIE escapades, the journey to CCIE, and Sean always reached out and helped give me encouragement, like so many did, and definitely became someone that was happy to cheer me on in the good days, was there to lift me up in the bad, and it was through that also I found out that he runs this like awesome website that he's very low key about, and so I always add, you guys know I've been introducing tools for like the last 6 months on this live stream. And so I find all these cool tools and I keep them bookmarked in my bookmark bar. And this is one of those tools that's lived there that I share to anyone who needs reference. And that tool is tcpdump101.com. So without further ado, I'm going to have Sean on here, and I kind of want to just talk about a little bit about the website, a little bit about yourself, and sort of like what was the purpose of coming up with this website. So if no one's opening it up themselves right now, let me do it right now. 101.com. Make sure it's still up. So if you haven't gone to the website or you don't know about it or you don't have the opportunity to go to it, what it is a website that will give you the syntax for various firewall platforms to tell you how to take a PCAP based on some parameters. And there's also some other helpful information in there and some different things. So for example, he has Linux TCP dump, FortiGate in there, Checkpoint, Cisco ASA, and I'm sure we could add more to this list if we needed to. Or if anyone wants to help donate the syntax for the tools. So this is one that I know I've used and I've referenced anytime I need to get into a firewall and you're troubleshooting a connection. You need to get in there and you can't remember how to do a PCAP. And if anyone has trouble like me, searching Cisco documentation is not always, I can't always find the answers I'm looking for as quickly as I'd like to. But I keep this tool bookmarked, and I can click on the Cisco ASA and put in, define a couple of quick variables, and then it will help build me that command line syntax right there. So super awesome, super convenient, and it just makes it one of those things that like, I don't have to look it up anymore. Now I just use the tool. So
well, thanks for the great.
I was going to say,
go ahead.
How and why did you come up with this?
So I know I look like I'm 15, and that's kind of my leading joke. And it's fair and understandable. I can't grow an illustrious beard like you, Tony. I can barely get the Quebecois mustache. I am from Canada, so I think that gives me a pass to say that. But one of the things is I've been doing this a long time, and I've been doing networking, I've been doing security, I've been doing architecture, I've been doing engineering, I've been doing implementations, like you name it, and I've been doing it. And one of the things I really enjoy doing is helping people. And throughout all my years, I've always used other people's tools, right? So, like I would use TCP dump, or I'm using Metasploit, or I'm using Burp, or I'm using something like that. One thing that you mentioned before, which is really great that I've used a lot, is regex101.com. And a few years ago, about 6 years ago, I started thinking to myself, I'm like, well, how can I give back to the community, right? Like, I feel that knowledge should be free, not necessarily information, some things have to be kept secret, but knowledge should be free. And I wanted to kind of impart what I learned over the years and try to find a way to give back to the community that I've taken from so much or used so much. And because of my strengths at Packet Captures, I'm a terrible Windows administrator. I know where my strengths are. I know where my weaknesses are. And I put together a very basic version of the website. And pardon me. I showed it to my coworkers and said, hey, this is, if you guys like it, let me know. And then one of my coworkers said, well, what about FW Monitor from Checkpoint? And if anybody's ever used FW Monitor on a Checkpoint box, you realize that the syntax is night and day compared to what a normal, BPF filtered PCAP would be. So I said, you know what, why not? So I did that one. And then they said, what about FortiGate? And then what about Cisco? So I came up with all of that. And then I realized, maybe I got something here. So I redid the UI and the UX, and I ended up with the version that we have now. And again, like you said, I do my best not to brag. Maybe I should jump into other people's Twitter threads as often as I can, but I don't want to seem like I'm the kind of guy that's pushy. But if it can help somebody, that's to me, that's what it's about. I want to be able to say, I've done this for over 25 years now. I've been in this industry, I've been in this field, and as I'm sure all the networking people out there can understand, packet captures or it didn't happen, right? So when you're dealing with a networking issue, when you're dealing with a firewall issue, right? And I'll talk about security. I know it's a networking show. I'll touch a little bit about security, but whenever you're troubleshooting something,
You're in good
you've always
company.
got one source.
Tony always talks about security. It's all he talks about. Sometimes a networking podcast, but Tony's like quickly switching it into a security podcast. So,
Well, there you go. Yeah, Jordan, I'm after your job. That's what's going to happen here, brother.
don't offer that too loudly. Just say it.
My wife will kill me. So whenever you're dealing with a network issue, a packet capture will always tell you where the problem is, right? Not necessarily what the problem is. Oftentimes it will, but it will tell you where the problem is. And as much as I do security, as much as I do firewalls and pen tests and all that other fun jazz, packets need to get from point A to point B. You can have, one host way out on the internet, and it's got to go through some crazy eBGP confederation. It's going to get routed all these different places with global site load balancing. It comes in, and you got internal reverse proxies, and like 10 servers in the back end. One way or another, you've got one packet going from one source to one destination, right? Because if you've got your load balancer set up in round robin, they're only going through one at a time, right? If they're in high availability, it's always going through one at a time. And so I tell people, you need to follow the packet, right? So to me, being able to do packet captures is huge, right? Routing is key, right? We can talk about, security all we want, right? But if the packets don't go anywhere, we don't have an internet, we don't have a network. And network devices are dumb. They only know about their own network, right? The big thing for me is I tell my colleagues and my customers, and I say, you've got directly connected, you have static routes, you have dynamic routes, you have your default gateway, you have null routes, and that is it, right? And that's the very basic chart. I mean, policy routes fit in there somewhere, I think probably between connected and static. But that's it. Like those are your metrics. Because networking devices are dumb. If they don't have a route that tells them, go use this gateway, it's going to just shove it off to the default gateway and then it's done. So being able to wrap all that around in terms of knowledge and being able to help people out is really why I, coming back full circle to the original question, is why I created this. I wanted to be able to help people.
Yeah, that's definitely echoing some sentiments that that I've shared, which is, you mentioned the packets have to get somewhere. They have to go from A to B. They have to flow. And whether you're doing security or anything else, they have to get from beginning to end. And to do that, you need the network. You need network engineers, and that's why my journey through network engineering has just bolstered my understanding of everything else so much stronger, of secure network security-based threats. So what do you build the site with? What do you build it on? I just kind of want to get a little peek behind the curtains.
Sure.
Is it
it's
hosted on WordPress or, what are you running under the hood?
So this is going to be, I don't know if it's going to be surprising for people or not. It's literally all client side. There is no back end to it. I created it in HTML, JavaScript, CSS, and then there's images on top of that. And the reason that I did that, right? So one of the things you'll notice if you have gone to the site or if you use it before, there are no GDPR cookie warnings or anything along those lines because there is no back end. Right, you go there, and even on the far left-hand side, there's a little download link, and you can click on that, and it gives you, a little wget syntax, and you can download this, take it offline, open it up in your web browser, and it will work right out of the gate, right? Because some people are in air-gapped networks, right? I work a lot with the FedGov here in Ottawa, where I'm located, and we have people that have, networks that are completely air-gapped. They have no internet access whatsoever. So they still need to route packets internally inside that network, and being able to take that tool and give it to somebody and say, just open it up on your laptop. You don't have to spin up a web server. It's literally all JavaScript. It's all handwritten. I would say about 99% of it is handwritten, and the other 1% is copied from Stack Overflow. But I think that's a sign of a good programmer, maybe. I don't know. Anyways, it's very straightforward. There, as I said, there's no back end. You can take this, you can put it on whatever server you want. For the longest time, I actually hosted it as a static S3 instance through Amazon. I then moved over to a new hosting provider, but because it's static, I didn't need to do anything. I just chalked up the web pages and off it went.
Wow, I had no idea that you could do that, actually. That was not like a planted question, but I was expecting, some sort of back end of a website and a couple of things. I had no idea that you could take this offline, and it makes total sense, and that it's all done client side. I think that's awesome. It's way beyond my comprehension for scripting and development, but that is super cool. And something I'm looking at the site. I had it up the whole time. I had no idea you could do that. So that's super cool. Definitely.
Yeah, thank you. And as I said, it's all hosted by it's all self-contained. There are no external libraries. It doesn't download jQuery. So when you go to the actual download page and you actually do the wget itself, it will give you the files that you need. You just do the wget, it drops it into a new directory or a new folder, and off you go. Right? I have no qualms or quarrels about people taking this offline.
So a couple of people in the YouTube chat, I just kind of put a question out there. What firewalls should you add to the site? And we've gotten a couple of shout outs for different firewalls. Palo Alto has a built-in web GUI for defining captures, but you can also do it from the CLI as an alternative. And then also embedded packet capture, which is a packet capture feature on most routing and switching devices. That's Cisco. I don't know what Juniper has itself. So my question to you is if there are firewalls or devices out there that people would like to add, what's the best way to go about doing that and coordinating that with you?
Yeah, you can send me an email, tcpdump101@gmail.com. You can reach out to me on Twitter and we can start a DM conversation. And the right now, the development has been with devices that I have access to. Right, so I don't have access right now to, let's say, a Juniper device or a SonicWall or a Palo box. So if you have the syntax that you can send to me, that would be great. The other option, and I don't want to break anybody's vendor relationships and whatnot, but if you can send me a VM instance of a firewall that I don't have, I could work with that. So if there's a way for you to get me the information, we can work back and forth. We can do some collaboration, absolutely. And I would totally welcome that. In the past little while with COVID, I'm not going to lie, things do work on or kind of break us down a little bit. I had to take a bit of personal time, so I haven't been working on it as much as I'd like to. I've been trying to kind of decompress and get out of the COVID-19 burnout, but I'm always happy to discuss this, and I take positive and constructive criticism. If anybody has ideas, if you like something, if you don't like something, by all means, please reach out. Let me know. I'm absolutely approachable.
Do you want to give us a quick tour? Check it out. Show us the things that you think stand out.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know what's being presented right now. Oh, there we go. All right. So now that we're on the right one. So I've got two VMs here set up, very straightforward. I've got a left side and a right side. Hopefully my Cherry MX Blues aren't too loud.
Sean, can you plus size your font a little bit in that CLI window?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you could zoom in the browser a little bit.
I've got good eyes, but not that good.
Okay, fair enough. Custom font. Let's make you. Let's try 25. Oh, that might be.
Yeah, that's probably a bit too big. Yeah.
Yeah, a bit too much.
Yeah, let's go 18. Let's see what that looks like. I think that's reasonable.
How's that?
Yeah,
reasonable? Okay.
Yeah, looks great. I can read it. Yep. Yes, sir.
All right. So I've got 1.1.1 on the left side. And if I go over here, and of course we'll do the same thing with this.
I like the background music.
Thank you. I was working with a customer the other day, and we were doing a WebEx. And I said, let me show you all these different things that we were finding out. And I hum and I haw to myself, and I'm talking to myself. And he stops and he interrupts me. He goes, I'm still here, right? And I say, yeah, I do this all, like, this is how I work. And he just burst out laughing. I talk to myself. I crack jokes with myself. I have gone to the point, again, I look like I'm 15, but I'm at the point where I just don't care. I do my thing, And, you know, if I'm singing a song and you don't like it, then you can put me on mute and not listen to the song and whatnot. So, so yeah, we've got a left side, we have a right side. Oop. So we've got 1.1.1.2, right? We've got a subnet mask of /30, so they can talk to each other. We ping 1.1.1.1, and away we go. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to fire up Netcat. And if nobody's used Netcat before, it basically just opens up TCP sockets, or it does a lot more than that. It's kind of the Swiss Army tool of network sockets, but I'll fire that up. And if we go to our other terminal here, we do netstat peanut grep 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see we've got that in a listen state. So I will soon be doing a packet capture on that. And what we're going to do is we're going to fire open tcpdump101.com, and we'll do a live one right now. So again, if you haven't seen the site, we've got all the different modules over here. We're just going to be sticking with Linux. I will be showing a FortiGate one shortly. You may not be able to see it, unfortunately. Oh, maybe. We'll see what happens. And to do that, I have to make sure I keep a session alive over here. So I apologize for flipping back and forth. So on any of the items, on the left-hand side is all your command syntax, and on your right-hand side are your PCAP filter options. So these are going to be our BPFs, our Berkeley packet filters. So you start by entering information, so we're going to be looking at ETH0. And as you can see, it goes from red to green, right? So if we get rid of that, it goes back to red. And as we're typing along, it updates our command syntax up at the top here. And then what you can do is you can take a look and say, well, I don't want to resolve host names. I do want link level headers. I'm okay with the time. I want maximum verbosity. I always like -X. I like setting 0 for the snap length for TCP dump. That makes sure that regardless of the size of the frame, you're capturing everything. So if you're on jumbo frames, you don't have to worry about missing anything. Setting a count, this is huge in my opinion, especially when you are SSH'd into something. If you don't put your filters properly, then you're going to capture your own SSH traffic. Now, normally nowadays, devices aren't too bad at handling a lot of packets going through on a PCAP, and you can hit Control-C quickly enough. On some older Cisco devices, I've done the goof and I've locked them up. So definitely, whenever you're doing a packet capture, set your packet level count or packet capture count. The other thing that you can do is if you ever want to know what these options are, there's a little question mark here, and you can just hover your mouse over it, and it will tell you information about all the different options that you're going to be selecting, right? And again, as we filled all this out, our command syntax up at the top has been updating, right? If we wanted to, we could display it to the screen. We can save it to a file. And again, you can specify the file name if you want to rotate it, the number of output files, so on and so forth. But that's not really why we're here. Now we get into the filters. This is one of the main reasons that I created this, is because people had trouble with filters on different devices. And unfortunately, I don't have a checkpoint device, but I will show you what the PCAP syntax looks like for FW Monitor. So you can click the not button, and you'll see a tiny little icon shows up here, which will tell you that this specific filter is inverted. And then I've separated, all the different filters by OSI model, right? So layer 2, layer 3, layer 4. You can create your own filters, you can add brackets, so on and so forth. And, it'll put in the backslash for your brackets, right? But what we're going to do is we'll do something really simple, right? So we're going to say, I want layer 4 TCP and UDP ports. And then as you can see, we have a subtype down here. You can do source and destination, source only, destination only, port range, source and destination port ranges. So we're interested in bidirectional. So we're going to put in 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you wanted to, I would say, I want to add a filter below. So here we have another filter. Again, we can negate this if we wanted to. We're not going to, but I'll show you what that looks like. And the operand that we're going to use is and we'll put in a host, right? Layer 3. So again, here you can see we've got layer 3 IPv4 v6 domain host, and this will be bidirectional. And we'll do 1.1.1.1. And if you keep your eyes on up here, and we click on not, you'll see it will negate that one specific filter. And bear with me a moment, I'm just doing a quick session keep alive. All right, so now that you've built your filter, you just click in here, go over here, paste in here, and away you go. So now that that's listening, and we have an open socket on 1, 2, 3, 4, we'll send some traffic. And again, you can see everything that's gone by, right? We can see the SYNs, the syntax, the whole 9 yards, right? We can see the sequences, and you can see everything going back and forth. So if you ever have trouble remembering what your syntax is, just come on up here. When you're done, little trash icon down here, click on that. It literally just does a Control F5 and refreshes the page, and you're back to where you were. So let's say you're logged into a FortiGate. Let's say you've never logged into a FortiGate before and you need to run a PCAP. Now this is the part here, let me get rid of that, where I don't know, can I just control, oh look at that, that's beautiful. I can just control scroll. There we go. So this is a FortiGate that I have access to. And what we can do is we can do two things. We can do flow debugs, right? We're not going to do this because it's really low-level stuff that we probably don't care too much about. But again, you just fill in all the different things and click up here. And if we go back up here, we can do a packet capture. So like many firewalls that are out there, it's based on Linux. So we do have BPF. It's a little bit more restricted, and it doesn't use the same syntax. But what we can do is we can say, I want to listen on the internal interface. I want maximum verbosity. And I want to stop after 10 packets, because again, it's important that we stop after X amount of packets. We'll print absolute timestamps. And I'm going to say I want a layer 3 protocol only. Actually, you know, we'll do ICMP only. And again, we have all these different subtypes that are built in, right? And if you wanted to, you can specify your own ICMP type and ICMP code. You can just put that in there, right? For now, what we'll do is we'll say echo only. Right, we'll keep it very straightforward. And again, you can see it puts it together for us. You click up there, and I don't know if actually I have a shared clipboard here, and we'll find out. Nope, that's not it. I do not have a shared clipboard. Let me get back over here, and we'll just do the same thing on the host operating system. Pick level 6, 10, absolute, ICMP, echo only. Click. Okay. And then let's go over here. Oop, look at that. I already got an ICMP echo request, right? So things are currently happening. If you wanted to, you could say, whoops, not ICMP. Click. This is going to go by super quick, but we're just getting the point across that the not filter works as well. And as I promised, I did say that I was going to talk about Checkpoint. So Checkpoint actually has a bunch of different things to it. If you've ever used Checkpoint, you know it's an absolute behemoth of an operating system. And they've come out with CPPCAP, which is very recent, which I believe came out in R80.10. Don't quote me on that, which is a little bit easier to use. They use BPFs. But then we get into the FW Monitor. Now, the FW Monitor will listen at all 4 points of inspection, or all 6 points of inspection if you're using R80 and above, or R80.20. And if we take a look at the information that we have, this is on the newer version. You can say, I want 1.2.3.4, and I want source port, 1, 2, 3, 4. Doesn't really matter, 5.5.5, whoops. Sure, hey, get in there. Right, so it'll put it all together for you. And as I said, unfortunately, I don't have a Checkpoint machine to work with right now. But again, this is all stuff that I've personally tested myself, right? So I'm not just relying on, hey, John Doe, send me this information. And again, if people are out there that do have information they want to share with me, we can work together on it, right? If we go back to the original FW Monitor, we can take a look and see, how ugly some of this stuff is to work with, right? If you're looking for TCP only, and we add a filter below that, and you're looking for a specific port, and we're going to say and we're going to say, source or destination, 8080, right? This up here, right, I'll actually see if, I can highlight that part right there, is not BPF friendly. So if you're working on a checkpoint and you need to do in-depth kernel level packet capturing, FW Monitor is the tool that you want to use. But if you're on the pre-R80 version, then this is the type of syntax that you're going to have to deal with, and it can be a real mess. So, I do have Cisco ASAs as well. So right now, the only one that I have is raw data. I do have some ASAs here at the house in my home lab. I just, as I said, haven't had time to get around to do a whole bunch. I think raw data is really the most important. I don't think a lot of people do backplane captures, but not the ASA expert. But again, you just put in your capture name, right? So my cap to the outside interface, and we can do things like display in real time and full packet trace, right? And again, I said that you want to make sure that you take a look at the help, and if you hover over the question mark, it'll tell you the information that you're seeing there, right? So your layer 3 protocol, I'm interested in TCP. And one of the nice things that I did here, if I can kind of toot my own horn a little bit more, is if you type in 6 or 17, you'll see that it will ask for ports. But if we take that out, right, those go away as well. Also, with Cisco's, because everything in there is an object with a specific name, if you type in TCP or UDP, it'll add those port options back in for you. Last but not least, I do have a few command line tools, and it's very, very basic right now. How to configure your interfaces and how to take a look at your routes. So let's say I'm on a Cisco ASA, and I want to add an IPv6 route. My destination is 2001, bad code, dead beef, because I like to spell words. You can say the gateway is 2001, coffee, ::1. Oh. And the interface that you want to use is the outside interface. These ones here, you do actually have to press the generate command button for. They don't automatically update because I'm hoping we'll have a whole lot of different command line tools here, so the program won't really be able to differentiate between them. But you click the generate command, you click on that, you drop it in your Cisco device, and there's your route. So I really want to add more things to it. I would love to collaborate with other people that have Junipers and SonicWalls and Palos and other devices that are out there, right? Again, if you have constructive criticism, if you want to reach out, I've got my Twitter over here. I do have a subreddit that I post to once every couple of years. I've got a YouTube channel that has a ton of stuff on it that's completely abstract. I don't keep it organized whatsoever. I've got lockpick videos on there. I've got routing videos. I've got DTP layer 2 attacks against Cisco devices on there. It's a bit of a mishmash. I have a Discord you can reach out to. By all means, reach out. I'm more than happy to talk to people, to learn about what they're doing, and as much as I can. As I said, I really want to help people. I've been telling people that I want to help networkers become hackers, and I want hackers to become networkers. One of my former colleagues, we were on an engagement. Sorry, Jordan, I'm going to talk security for a sec.
It's okay. I'll give you a pass.
All right, thanks. I was on an engagement with some of my former coworkers, and they had a plant in a customer's network, right? They walked in, they did their physical bypass, and they dropped in maybe 3 or 4 Raspberry Pis, and we finally got a ping back from one of them. And it was a full red team engagement. It wasn't something quick. It's got to be nice and quiet, low and slow kind of thing. And I said, okay, well, they said, well, we got the box on there. Let's see what we can find. I said, well, before you guys jump on and do anything, give me like 10 minutes with it. And they said, okay, well, it's low and slow. I said, I know. So I logged in and I ran a PCAP, right? I didn't put any filters on there, right? I just ran a PCAP on the interface, and I let it run for, I think it was 10 or 100,000 packets, just enough to capture a lot of good information from loud and noisy devices, things that were doing, ARP broadcasts, LLMNR checks, NetBIOS updates, IPv6 red advertisements, solicitations, DHCP, all the fun noisy stuff from multicast and broadcast. And I took that and I ran it through, I created a program that literally it goes through and it scrapes all that loud information and does passive fingerprinting of devices. And I went back to them and I said, guys, there's there are VLAN tags on here. And they said, so? And like my mind was blown because my colleagues were hackers, right? They weren't networkers. And I said, well, I had to explain to them what the difference was between like an access port and a trunk port. And I said, if, like I asked them, I said, where did you plug this into? And they said, we plugged it in behind a telephone, like one of the IP phones. I said, well, that is absolutely fantastic because a lot of organizations have separate VLANs for voice over IP, and then they connect those into trunk ports with the native VLAN set. I said, the fact that we're able to see, VLAN 10, 20, and 30 means that those are being broadcast on the port. I said, without issue, I can keep our box alive on the user land VLAN, right? And put us on these other subnets by just doing a vconfig. And boom, we were able to hit those additional subnets. And that gave us, another foothold into the network. And it was just by doing packet captures. And being able to do packet captures, if you're an engineer, if you're a security person, if you're a SOC analyst, if you are whatever it is that you do, right? Being able to look at what's happening on the wire, being able to dissect what that means is just leaps and bounds above somebody who can't, And as I said,
thank you. I've been saying that the whole time.
He really has. That's what I mean. The whole time.
And it's not necessarily about security, right? Like, again, I'm a security guy, but I've done the engineering, I've done the architecture, I've done all sorts of stuff, right? Like, again, I'm not here to, toot my own horn, too much, but I've done a lot. Again, I look like I should be, what's his name? Alfalfa from the Little Rugrats or whatever, right? I look like I'm 12 or 15, but I've done a lot. And packet captures always, always, always give you the information of what you need. They tell you what VLANs, you're seeing, right? With that one specific situation, right? By running a PCAP, you can identify what machines are on the network, right? There's all sorts of good stuff, and it doesn't matter what industry or what part of the industry you're in. PCAPs matter. And I wrote this tool, as I said, before and a million more times, because I like to help people. And I want networkers to become hackers, and I want hackers to become networkers. So
it's a good mission.
That's well said.
My demonstration.
Yeah, thank you. I was going to say, well said, Sean. I really love it. And you know what? In seeing your demo, I even learned some things. My biggest takeaway here was that this entire thing is portable. In a sense, and I'm actually thinking of this like practical use case, right? I sometimes in the past, I used to teach a networking and a security class, and just happens in both of those, we needed to fumble with TCP dump. When I started the classes, we weren't giving anyone any help until like every class, they were like, can we have a cheat sheet of TCP dump? So like I started like developing a cheat sheet, but how awesome would it have been just to be like, yeah, open your laptops, open the browser, here's this tool, it's ready to go. And they could build their own queries because a lot of people just don't memorize them. Which I don't know why. They're so easy to memorize.
I know, right? Like I've got my favorites memorized, and I should probably just get that as my next tattoo, just have it like down the side of my arm. But,
yeah, right.
One thing I did want to bring up real quick before we move on or continue talking about this, and it's completely unrelated, but it's an offhanded remark that you mentioned about old phones. And I do want to say that I'm part of the 0%. I don't know if that's coming up, but I'm still rocking.
You are on BlackBerry.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's me. Yeah.
Nice. So,
right?
Okay.
So, okay, well, hold on. My nice comes with all kinds of layers of sarcasm. Before I go there, though, I learned something new in this presentation as well. Unfortunately, I don't think is what you came here to talk about, and that is I've got to up my cursor game.
Oh, you like the
yes,
the 9CAT?
Yes, I have to, like, I'm feeling like I've not done enough in this space because I saw that and I immediately was like, oh my word, that's amazing. So just throwing it out there.
So yeah, so I use Enlightenment for my window manager, and the terminal that I use is Terminology, and there are cool things that you can do with it. Like you can inside the terminal. If I go, we're totally going way off topic here.
Way off topic.
Yeah.
I can't see anymore. It's too small.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah.
He doesn't want you to see what he's typing.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
It's a mystery.
But yeah, so here, let me show you this, right? So first off, I do have an Easter egg on the site.
Of course you do.
Oh, sweet.
There you go. I don't know if you saw that pop up down at the bottom.
Nice.
Right. So bonus
Bonus
points
figure out
if
the
you can-
URL.
Exactly.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
right.
okay.
Right.
That's cool.
Come on,
for
it's
instance,
all client
yeah,
side
so
code.
the-
How hard could it be?
Exactly, right? Like you just got to go through about 12,000 lines of JavaScript. It's fine.
You're that guy.
If we download, I am. Yeah. The thing is, whenever I look at my code, after I've made like a UI decision or whatever, and I put it into production, I immediately say to myself, you know, I could make this better, and I should, and I never do. So yeah, with the terminal, right? If we just get rid of that fat cat, tycat max res default, you can actually concatenate files inside the terminal, and that can be audio files, video files, PDFs. There's a picture of the cat that I just downloaded. But yeah, if you're running Unix or BSD or Ubuntu or whatever, I love Enlightenment. It's very lightweight. You can do so much with it, and you know, there's nothing more awesome than the Nyan Cat. Like, who doesn't like a cat flying through space that has a Pop-Tart as a body that's farting out rainbows? Like, you cannot go wrong with this.
You can't.
And when I found out that, right? Yeah,
It's perfect.
so.
It's absolutely perfect. So I had to call that out. So BlackBerry, you still have a Bez running somewhere?
I do not. No. We got rid of our Bez quite a while ago, but yeah, I haven't found another phone that has the durability. Like, I mean, this is a relatively heavy device, and it's got
I know.
the tactile keyboard. Yeah.
Oh, I'm aware.
It's great for self-defense. I mean, you pull out a BlackBerry, people just stop robbing you. It's like, damn, you're poor.
I started with Blackberries, and I was one that held out. Like, I liked the physical keyboard. I did not jump right away to iPhone, but then I went through the unfortunate stage of Blackberries touch displays early on. I forget the model numbers or the model types, but they were awful. They were just horrendous. And then eventually made the switch over. And I can't remember the last time I've seen somebody carrying a BlackBerry. That is really, really impressive.
As I said, it's actually a 0%, like, because it's less than 1 now, whatever the metrics are. I was trying to keep track of it, but yeah, I'm definitely not part of the 1% of people that has a lot of money. I'm part of the 0% that still rock the BlackBerry.
That's amazing. Oh, that's phenomenal. I didn't even know they were like. I didn't even know you could still run one on modern cell networks. Yeah. I mean, I know they're still around as a company, but
yeah, and they make the Android
handset
version, right? But
but
like, this is the actual BBOS version. So yeah,
it's crazy.
Proud.
I'm trying to think about how long it's been since I've used a BlackBerry. I'm trying to put like a number on it. It's more than a decade.
Laz says there are tens of you people out there.
It's true. There's dozens of us. I tell you, dozens.
Well, Sean, thank you so much. Thanks for demoing your tool. And if anyone, definitely bookmark it, throw it in your bookmarks toolbar. And if anyone has any firewalls you want to recommend, reach out to him directly. And very awesome. Thank you so much for coming on and joining us on stream. Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for having me. It's been an absolute blast.
All right.
Cool.
We'll talk again soon,
we'll see you.
All right. Thanks.
Yep.
Later.
So that was more than I bargained for, Tony.
Yeah, you got Nyan Cat, you got BlackBerry, and you got some PCAP goodness. So what more do you need? That's a night.
The site was great, but then it was just like the cherry on top, or a couple of them. Yeah, it was fantastic. So,
I'm still blown away by the whole client side thing. I think it's great. And now I'm like, my gears are turning. Like, what else can we do that's client side and portable? You know what I mean? You just throw all the files in a directory and tell everyone to click on index.html and you're done.
Technology is always a pendulum. So we've gone so far to the server side, and now everyone's going to go back to handcrafted HTML and JavaScript. Why not? We do it to everything else.
It's artisanal.
It's artisanal, handcrafted, bespoke, unique. We can go all kinds of adjectives.
Amish.
But it's Amish. I saw that one in the chat. Amish. Oh, that's great. So we have everyone ready for the second round of trivia. So why don't we do that?
Rock and roll. Yep.
All right, let's bring them up. So let's see here. Got to pull up the right screen. Hey, it looks like Ray and Preston. It was supposed to be Thomas.
Preston, what are you playing on? Is that like a...
Preston, I think, is just trying to screw with me.
Okay.
So first he tells me he's chatting in YouTube, sends me a message in Slack that the title on Twitch is wrong. And so then hold on. Then he makes one comment from Twitch. No one saw it. I'm the only one who saw it. One. So I mean, hey,
I didn't want. I wanted
there.
Twitch chat to have some love. Come on.
I would love if people on Twitch would watch us, but we don't really have a following there, and we kind of started it, but we really haven't put any effort into making it happen. So that's on me. But there's only so much time.
The comment wasn't really anything special either, but I mean, it was there.
It was this.
Yes,
that was it. That was the comment from Twitch.
that was it.
So if you ever want to screw with me, go onto one of the platforms that nobody's using chat on and start sending messages, because I see those. No one else does. The risk is I will post them, like on the live stream.
I'm okay with it.
I know. Anyway,
That post was bananas.
Whoa. There are two. I don't know who that is. I don't know if
There
it's
are
somebody
twos of us.
who's
That's hilarious.
Nice. I like it. So maybe it's the start, right? We'll be thousands of followers on Twitch by when?
2024.
At this rate?
At this rate, yeah, we're a little behind. So here we are. So Thomas keeps winning and then insisting on going to bed, which is not surprising because I think it's like 3 a.m. there. So Ray lucked out. He was number 3. Were you intentionally trying to take a dive there, Ray? You didn't want to win twice in a row?
I was intentionally throwing to try and avoid making it to the final 2, but
task failed successfully. Well done.
I know.
Right. All right. So let's
Haven't shaved. My hair is all messed up. It's fine.
I haven't shaved. My hair is all messed up too. I'm just wearing a hat.
Me too.
All right, let's get some music going, and we're gonna get the trivia going. There we go. All right, here we go.
Nice.
You like that?
Yep. That seemed
I
appropriate.
approve.
What is it, Tony, that you went to the zip drives and the jazz drives? Whoa. That was incredibly fast.
I
Okay.
need you guys to slow down if we're going to banter at all.
This is going to be done in like 3 seconds. All right, here we go.
Yep.
Question 2.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just thinking about like nerdy trivia, you know?
Some of this is nerdy trivia.
And when I think about nerdy trivia, I Omega comes to mind.
And MD5 hashes.
That was a guess.
Look at this. 2 questions in and
Whoa.
we're right next to each other. It's a game. This one wasn't a nice one.
Oh, nice meme though. That's
You like
solid.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna guess because I'm gonna lose more points waiting.
There
Oh
you
my
go.
god.
Very well. Very nice.
I like the IP address ones.
You do. Okay, Tony. Tony, you have a
See?
fan.
You see?
You
I
have
got a fan.
Well done.
It's only one, but that's okay.
They're fun. I think they're fun.
it sounds easy on the surface, right? But with pressure
Right.
on, it becomes way
Yeah,
harder.
with the timer going, you're like looking at it like,
Yeah. Yeah.
which octet is the easiest for me to figure out here?
no.
All right,
Yeah.
here we go.
Totally.
It's
One of those. If it's one of those.
It's
I like
an answer.
the cat inspecting it.
All right. Preston taking the lead, but I don't think it's definite, Ray. You get on this one and it could be yours.
It's gonna be close.
There we go. You got him,
that's,
Tony. You got them both.
Wow.
You got them both.
Wow.
You tricked him.
So is that the last question?
That's the last one.
All right, we got to break this one down.
What do you mean?
We got
what
to
do
break
you mean?
this one down.
What do you mean we got to break this down?
They both answered wrong.
Yeah?
So they both answered gigawatts.
Yeah.
When the
Because
question was in the Back to the Future script,
Oh.
how much energy does the
was
flux
it,
capacitor
was it actually
consume?
written like that? Because I
It was
knew that
written
the
as-
gigawatts.
It was
I
written
knew that
as
giga was like an
gigawatts.
alternate pronunciation, right?
No, giga was the alternate pronunciation of giga, and they wrote
Yeah.
it as gigawatts. And
gigo.
And it wasn't
a real thing?
until no. Well, it was a mispronunciation. It was a mispronunciation, and it wasn't until the history goes. It wasn't until some of the recent releases of the movie that included closed captionings. They actually changed the closed captioning to gigawatt. But if you go back and find an old release with closed captions on, they actually write it out in text as gigawatt as well, because that's what it
Wow.
was in the
Nice.
script.
Wow, that's a little esoteric, man.
This is some obscure trivia, Tony.
It's fair because it's accurate, but anyway. So Preston,
I mean, I haven't read the Back to the Future script, so like I don't know
Ever.
how I would know that.
yeah, I'm with you. I've gotten the question wrong as well. Regardless, Preston, you did it. You've won. Congratulations.
Well done.
One of these days we'll actually have, the final. We'll have to do like a massive final and just get everybody on and do trivia. But yeah, anyway, well done, guys, and thanks for coming on and thanks for hanging out and waiting. And we'll see you again soon.
Thanks for having me.
Later.
All right, Tony.
Yeah,
I think
that
there's
was awesome.
I think
That
there's
was
one more thing to
awesome,
do.
man.
Yeah, that was.
Oh no, I didn't get my screen ready, but I can quickly. I'm good at it
Tell me
now.
when you're ready, because I don't think anyone knows what's coming. It's a big secret. There's an air of
Okay.
mystery.
Okay.
Pressure's on now.
Pressure's on. Pressure's on. Yeah, I think I'm good. Yeah. Rock and roll.
You good?
I'm good.
Sure. Here we go.
Oh, sorry. We were just rocking out over here. All right. Hey, everyone. This is Naked Hardware. This is the part of the show where I show you a piece of networking hardware without its chassis, without its cover on, just the raw circuitry, and you try to guess what it is. I'm going to start off the night by reviewing last week's Naked Hardware before presenting the new Naked Hardware. And I did not queue up this one to auto post on Network Collective's Twitter.
It's good because
Unlike
we're
last
cutting
time.
it awfully close again tonight.
Yeah.
We were so good, Tony. Like every night was like 10
Yeah.
on the dot, and we were done. 10 Eastern, of course. And Ray says that graphic is a little unsettling.
I don't know what's unsettling about it. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, what's unsettling? It's a naked router. I don't know.
It's a router that's a little bit ashamed from being naked.
I think it's great.
Well, I'm sure Ray has a very valid reason why it's a little unsettling. Jordan, do you want to show my screen?
I can do that.
Very cool. So this was the picture of last week's Naked Hardware. This one was given to us by Network Collective community member. I think Richard gave this one. So this was cool because it was one of the first, I think, wireless pieces that we've shared. We don't get many wireless ones. I think previously we had a wireless controller, which looks just like every other networking device, networking appliance. But this one obviously has some screw terminals for antennas and things. So it's our first, real network device. Real wireless
device.
Networking device. Yes.
That's what I saw right away. Was the connectors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely. And so very good. So this one got a lot of good chatter on Twitter. I'm going to go ahead and cycle through.
Before you go too far, I think we have a name.
Marilyn Monroe. Oh, yeah, it kind of does have that Marilyn Monroe hold my skirt down kind of cross-legged pose. Okay,
like
all right, I get it.
I think we have a name.
Not bad. So very good. So let me go over what the answer actually was. So this one here, I got 4 pictures to show you guys, and then we'll go over the guesses from our participants from Twitter. And here we go. So this was, I guess I'm just going to read off the letters, but this is a Cisco AirNet AP124 2A. Yep, 1242. And then AGAK9. If I was a wireless guy, I would probably know what all that extra letters and numbers mean, because I'm sure they have values somewhere. But I don't know what they mean. So if you're in the chat and you know what it is,
you know what the
let
K9
me know,
is,
educate
right?
me. Is that the crypto export?
Yeah, that means that it has crypto on it.
Yeah, but I don't know what the G and A is, I guess. Maybe G and A is, AG is going to be the 2 bands, and then I don't know what the middle A is there.
A domain.
AG is wireless A is the region, Preston says. A is the region, that middle one. Very cool. Oh, and Ray said A domain. All right, awesome. All right, let's go through the other pictures here. Yeah, so this one was donated by Network Collective community member, and it was the next see back on it. I realize my screen is taking a moment to catch up. There we go.
Your computer's struggling as you go through this, and we're getting glitchy audio too.
Oh, that's all right. The computer. I mean, I'm doing well for cooling, so I hope I'm okay.
It's not melting down.
Okay, so no, it's doing okay. This seen better days.
Yeah,
this one has been scratched and burned. Yeah, and here we go. So of course you got your power connector and then the line. So pretty cool. Again, I would love to get more. I'd love to get more wireless gear in here. So if anyone, let's rock and roll. Okay, let's get to the answers, or the guesses rather. Let's start off with our winner. These are in chronological order. Okay, so our winner, first place winner.
Nobody who actually watches the stream, because it was out there while the stream was going on. It's completely not fair.
Okay. So let's see. Cheshire C13 was our first place winner. They came in at 10:19 p.m. April 7th, 2021. So right on the dot. Very cool. Very cool. And then, so these are all chronological, and this is how I name them. I name them by the year, the month, the day, and the time in a 24-hour notation of when they arrived. So this arrived at, it says 2019.
10/19.
Is that right? It should have been 22/19, I do believe.
Yes.
Did I screw this up?
You did, because that's 8:19 p.m.
Yeah, so that should be 22. The point was they all came in within a minute of each other, and I thought that was, not 24-hour. No, normally I can. Normally I'm pretty good. I've just failed at it. This one was...
You work with military, right, in your job normally? I
mean, my phone is on military time. But you're right. I'm just struggling with it. This one is 10:20. My point was that I wanted to illustrate that they all came in like sequentially, 10:19, 10:20, 10:22, 10:23. It was just sort of pretty cool. So this one was Scott Lester.
He
got it right on the nose.
Correct.
Yep, got it right on the nose.
I'm not sure how you could tell a domain from the circuit board.
You know, there was a little bit of chatter on Twitter about that, and someone even had commented and said, "I don't know how you were able to nail the region as well, just from the circuit board," but he did. Following up with that, were two more, I think, and sorry, I wish I could go through them faster. This one was Ray Susi. Susi, that's right.
He's here, so we'll give him some
playing with that. Yeah. Now this one, I don't know if that's a typo, or is LAP a different model?
I actually don't think that's correct. L is for lightweight AP, meaning that it goes to a controller, and that 1242 could have gone either way, right? It could have been a standalone or a lightweight. And this, I mean, it looked like a standalone, but I don't know for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. If someone in chat could educate us, that'd be great. And then I'll do the final. Oh, I think this is the final one here. IAP, maybe. Yeah, they all came in right after each other, which was so awesome. Not a typo. Preston says in chat, LAP and AP were slightly different, but interoperable. You can reflash them.
Yeah, you can. It's the image.
Roger that. So here's Preston. He said it's already been said, because there had already been 3 answers given, but definitely an AP 1242. Good job, Preston. I mean, they again, we're looking at like a 4-minute spread here, so that was pretty good. And then one came in just past midnight. I'm just trying to think who this was. If I. My guess, Cisco AeroNet 1242 AP. There you go. So Gernot Eder.
I don't know.
Yeah.
There's many ways that can go.
Maybe Gernot Eder. Very cool. Yeah. So, I mean, so this was a good one. You know, we got a lot of response on this one. And again, I was really happy to finally get a solid wireless device out there that differs from the typical networking appliances we get into. So to bring things back to ground level, let me show you a traditional networking appliance. Let me show you what we have on tap for tonight.
All right. Are you about ready to pull it up?
I'm going to pull it up, yeah, and I'm just going to put it up there for a second. I'm going to watch the stream. Come on, baby, come on. Here. Oh, hit that. It's there?
There we go.
Okay, I'll bring it down. All right.
Whoa, well, that was quick.
That's it. Just a sneak peek. You want to play? It's over there on Twitter. Well, it will be very shortly. So I'll do that right after we close out the stream tonight. So this is a fun one, and we got lots more network hardware to show. So big shout out to Preston. Preston gave me a zip file with a ton of pictures.
Preston's
so I'm very grateful
it.
for all. Dude, he's given, I think he gave me 6 or 7 before, a month or 2 ago, and I think he gave me another 6 or 7. So definitely rocking and rolling with that. And
awesome.
I think I have
Preston.
one on tap that's in processing that Preston might actually be able to play on, that someone else is generating. So I'm just waiting for one more picture to come. And because when Preston generates these, when he donates these, he can't play. Right. So I'm trying to sort of salt and pepper them in his with everybody else's so that he can play as often as he can.
That's cool. So speaking of contributions, I had mentioned last week that Thomas had sent me some questions. Thomas Kernack, he won trivia tonight, but couldn't. Yeah, well, he didn't win, right? Or he didn't win, but no, he did. I forget. He was 1 or 2, whatever. Whatever. He was, and he couldn't come on for the second part. So he had sent me a whole list just before last week's show. And I mentioned it and I brought it up. Like, hey, it's awesome. Thank you for sending me a list of trivia questions. I'm sure that with what you do and who you are, I'm sure it'll be technical and fun. None of the questions were technical. So I completely called him out. They're fun. They're great because we have very similar interests. It's about space travel and airplanes and all kinds of fun stuff that is interesting to a lot of people who are into what we do. So he felt bad when I called him out, sent me a second list of technical questions because I had made promises that he hadn't delivered on without ever talking to him. And so we have some trivia questions for next week that we can use from Thomas that are pretty solid,
Perfect.
which also means that Thomas can't win again next week.
That's right.
That's really what it comes down to. So other people get a chance because he keeps winning. This is the second week in a row he's won the preliminary, or has gotten one of the top 2 positions. But he likes to go to sleep because it's like at this point nearly 4 a.m, I think, or 4 a.m.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think it's time to wrap it up, Tony.
Let's do it, man. Yeah, I'm going to get that Naked Hardware post out right now, right in just another minute or two. And yeah, it's been great. I loved having Sean on. I hope everyone
awesome.
can stay engaged with that. That was very cool. And I look forward to next week. I don't know what we have on for next week. We'll figure that out in a few days, I'm sure.
Didn't we have somebody else lined up?
I don't remember. That's what we have to figure out.
I think we have somebody else lined up. If not, then Tony's going to be demoing something, I think.
Always can, always will. And don't forget, take a look at that that blog link that I shared earlier. Let me know any feedback.
I have a
Anyone
couple-
spots an error.
I have a couple things I need to demo. So you would ask me specifically to demo
Oh yeah,
the display thing. So the digital display that I have in my living room. Not exactly networking, but it is kind of fun. Oh, hold on. You have your screen up. Let me pull it up.
oh yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. So go check out the blogs. They're there.
Yep. Yeah, these are the last 3 I posted. There's some good ones. This is a lot of the research I talked about today, diving into the actual hex bytes of a file. I never needed to do that or had a reason to do that, but recently, in the past few days, I did have a reason to do that, and it solved a problem for me. So
cool.
it was pretty cool findings. Yep.
Awesome. And then the other thing I'm going to have a conversation about is I've been doing a lot of research about mobile connectivity, like an absolute ton of research about mobile connectivity. And maybe that's more of a conversation than a demo, although I just pulled the trigger on the bulk of my kit today.
Okay.
So it should be here in the next few days because I think it was all in stock. But man, like connecting to mobile networks is a mired mess of nonsense when it comes to understanding bands and available frequencies and who you can connect to and getting gear. I was really keen on getting like MikroTik gear, but it was really limited to what bands in the US could be used. And the modems that were available. And so like, it was a big steep learning curve. So it might be something worth talking about. It's kind of like,
I think you should definitely showcase that hardware next stream or in the next few streams whenever it arrives. And then we should put together maybe some guests on a discussion on mobile networking, networking from an RV, networking from the road, and have a discussion about that. I think that's super cool because I'm sure you're going to have some lessons learned just setting all this up.
There's a couple of great resources that are out there on the internet if you are pursuing that type of thing. There's RV Mobile Resource Center or something like that. They kind of investigate all the different things out there and test from a consumer mindset, right? Because there's a split in the market. One of the things is that like, there's a lot of like enterprise corporate gear that's available for thousands of dollars, which is tends to be out of the reach of the average like consumer who wants to put internet in their RV. There's a lot of really, really great devices that like are well beyond even what I'm comfortable paying for. And connectivity is like critical for me. And there's some things down into the consumer grade stuff where they don't work all that well, or they do work under certain circumstances. And it's like, so these guys look at all this stuff and kind of provide recommendations. It's kind of cool. It might actually, they're not networking people. They really focus on the connectivity stuff, but it might be interesting. It might be worth getting them on to talk about it just because I went down this road and seeing what's there. So Kevin says we can turn my house into a private LTE eNode B tower. Here's the thing. Fixed wireless doesn't do anything for me. I need it to be mobile. My house I can light my house up all day with every type of frequency I want to. I've got to be able to communicate from the middle of the woods on 12-volt power off of batteries. Like there's a whole bunch of caveats here. So it's a really interesting challenge. But hey, Kevin, man, if you want to install all kinds of cool gear and give me better connectivity in my house, I'm not going to complain about it. So we'll talk about that offline. Laz's van life. Oh, that's right.
And you know, if Kevin Myers installs anything for you, it's going to have 7 layers of encapsulation and most definitely be layer 2 from endpoint to endpoint.
Kevin says, then we need balloons. I would take mobility enabled Starlink, and I'm still hoping that that's an option by the time I go on my big trip in the fall, but we will see. We will see. So anyway, it's been fun. Another one of those weeks where after field day and kind of just having a rush to get into it, had no idea how I was going to go tonight, but it's always a blast. So Tony, thanks for making that happen. Oh, there's a bell. We're celebrating.
I'm always dropping things in my desk. I hit the bell all the time. It's like it's the hazard of having it within reach. You know, anytime you put something down, you ding the bell.
So it looks like most of the people in the chat are people who've been around for a while, but just in case anyone's watching who hasn't, you want to find more of our stuff, networkcollective.com. You can go count our episodes if you really want to, right? Tony didn't take the time to do that. You know what you could have done, Tony? There's a certain number of episodes per page, and there's like 24 pages, and you could have just
23.
done the math. Oh, okay, sure. So you could have done it that way. I could have done it that way. Anyway, networkcollective.com. We're at NetCollectivePC on Twitter. If you are watching and you haven't done so and you like what we do, we'd ask you to consider to support us. It's not a lot. It's $5 a month. It's less if you commit for the year, and you get some cool stuff. You can come hang out with us in the Slack. We're always in there chatting. And I mentioned it earlier, but you get ad-free episodes. So if that's you, we'd love to have you. We've had some people come in through the stream who've become supporters of the show, which has been awesome. So for those of you who have, thank you so much. It goes a really long way. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but it adds up very, very quickly. And so a sincere thank you. and you guys make me laugh. It's awesome. But with that being said, I think we're going to wrap it up. Thanks again, and we will see everybody next time.